In this video, let's understand about the DNS features that are available in the FortiGate firewall. So I'm repeating it, like we are not going to learn about DNS in this video because, as you know, DNS itself is a complex and a big chapter that we cannot learn in a single video. Okay, so we are going to see what are all the DNS features that are available in the FortiGate firewall. So in that context, we'll be learning. And before getting into the lab, let's have just basic understanding about DNS, and that would be helpful for us to proceed further. All right. So as you know, the term DNS stands for Domain Name System. Okay. So this is as same as contact book in our mobile phone. For example, like we come across many people in our day-to-day life, right? So it's very difficult to remind everyone's contact number, but it's very easy to remind the person with their names, right? So what we'll do whenever we want to have someone's contact number, we will save their phone number against their name in our contact book, right? So that if in case we want to connect with that person later sometime, we are just searching their name instead of searching their number, because as said, it's very difficult to uh, remember the numbers, but it's very easy to remember with their name, right? So if we want to connect with someone else later point of time, we can simply search their name and we can just dial to them, right? This is same as that DNS too. But instead of mapping phone number against the name, here in internet, like all the destination or whatever the servers or application servers or whatever destination it is uh, required, or it runs with an unique IP address, right? So if like it's very difficult to remind or remember all the destination's IP address, right? So that instead of remembering or maintaining the IP addresses, what we do, we make a DNS system, or the DNS system make a record like name against the domain name against the IP address. So that, like, say for example, if you want to access to any domain name, like any application, it is example.com or even google.com, what happens, like, this request first goes to the DNS server, and there the mapping will be available. Like if it is www.example.com, then the IP address for that is maybe, just for an example, like 1234, whatever it is. Okay, then once it gets the IP address of it, the actual communication starts. All right. So it is similar to the contact book in the phone, but here in the DNS, it maintains the record of domain name against the actual IP address of it. Okay, let's go to our lab and let's understand about it. So this is the simple topology that we are going to use for this lab. And when it comes to DNS, like there are two types of DNS we commonly use. One is internal DNS and the other one is external DNS. So when I say external DNS, any DNS that is available in the internet. Okay, there is another thing that referred as an internal DNS, which is generally used in the enterprise networks. In your production environment, you'll be having it, right? So, like, if it's as I said, if it's an external DNS, usually the request would go outside your network. It would go to the internet, and the internet, there are around some 13 root servers, and there are multiple replica of the same, and the DNS queries would get address there resolved, and you'll get the IP address of their destination in the internet, and again with that IP address, the request is sent to that destination. However, you'll be maintaining an internal DNS server, uh, like for the internal resolution. Like in your production environment, you may be having hundreds of applications that's running, right? Hundreds of applications that's running. So for that resolution, you'll be having an internal DNS. This is what an internal and external DNS is. There may be some situation, like maybe if your environment is little big, or having a big production environment, you may be having a dedicated Windows machine or a server that act as an internal DNS. But if your environment is very small, okay, very small and limited, and you want to make use of FortiGate firewall as a DNS server, that is also possible. Okay, actually, it is a firewall, but if you want, your environment is little small, okay, and you want to make use of the FortiGate as a DNS server also, that also possible. Okay, I'll show you like how to do it. So before that, let me show you like how or where to configure the DNS, like DNS IP addresses in general, when it want to connect, when the device itself want to connect to the internet. So if you come here under network, you'll be seeing something like DNS. So there are two things we can do. One is you can ask or you can mention FortiGate to use its own. Like when you put this option, use FortiGate server, it will connect to this particular DNS server. It's FortiGate's DNS server. Or if you want to modify it, you don't want to, connect to this and you want to use your own wish, then you can specify it and you can change accordingly. Like maybe if I put 8.1 dot, sorry, 8.8.8.8, I can use it. Or if I want to make delete it this one and put 1.1.1.1, yes, of course I can make it. All right. And this is the local domain name, like the domain name for the device itself, right? So I just did, and also like you can add up to 8 names. Okay, if you try to add 1, 2, 3, 4, like say, up to 8 you can add. Beyond 8 it won't go. Like see, so these are all about the internal DNS functions. And also like by default or in general, for a DNS we'd be using protocol 53, right? It's an UDP. But if you want to use that as a secured one, okay, then that's a DNS of DNS over TLS, right? DOT. In that, it will work on port 853. All right, and also you can make use of HTTPS with over port 443. Okay, all right. So this is all about this one, and so dynamically it's going through the WAN port, right? So this is all the DNS functions. But as I said, like let me show you how to make or how to if your environment is little small, how you can make a FortiGate firewall itself as a DNS server. Okay. So in order to make it, what you can do, you can go here. You see now we are seeing only DNS, right? You don't see anything apart from DNS. So just go to system. Under system, you'll be seeing an option like feature visibility. Just select it here. By default, this DNS database is disabled. Okay, just enable it. Ensure that you apply the changes by hitting this apply button at the bottom. So once you enable the DNS database and apply here, uh, the FortiGate firewall will also start as the DNS server. Okay, I'll show you how to configure it. Just to go to network again. See, now you see another option like DNS server. Earlier, next to DNS, we were seeing only IPAM. We don't see this option DNS servers, right? So as soon as we enable this DNS database, now we see a new option that is DNS servers. You can just select it. So by enabling or by configuring these options, you are making this FortiGate firewall to also act as an DNS server. Okay. Now what I'll do before getting into this perspective, I'll show you like just consider that this is one LAN environment or this is one network that is behind the firewall. So I'm going to add entries for this. Okay, I'm going to add entries for this web server, this PC at this FortiGate firewall, and this is going to act as my internal DNS. Okay, so as it is an internal DNS or means entries for the internal devices, the request is not required to go out for the internet, right? So basically, it's within the company. All right, so that's how I want to add a record to it. So first of all, let me add IP addresses to all these three devices like web server and PC1 and PC2. Then we'll add a record for all these three devices and I'll show you by resolving it from here. Okay, fine. So first, I think for PC1, we should be already having a IP address configured. Anyway, let me check that. Uh, Also, like we are going to configure this IP address 172.16.10.0. All right. So ensure that this IP is we are going to configure this port, and in all these three devices like web server, PC1, PC2, we need to configure this IP address as the DNS IP instead of 8.8.8. Okay, because what happens when we initiate any DNS query? Okay, for the first whatever DNS query it is going to hit which IP, this IP or this interface which is having this IP. So basically all the queries are going to happen at this port, like it through this port it is going to ask the FortiGate only. So instead of making to 8.8.8, if in case you're putting 8.8.8.8, then in that case it's going to the internet. We don't want to go that DNS request to internet, because those are the internal records. Okay, so it will not be available in the external, which is in internet. So that I'm going to make, I'm first point, I'm going to configure IP addresses in all the three devices, and also in the DNS section I'm going to add this IP address. All right, fine, I'll show you like why I'm adding this IP address and how to configure DNS in the FortiGate. First let me go with this configurations. So network options, adapter, Ethernet, properties, IPv4. I think we already have an IP address. Uh, all right. So 172.16.10.100. This one is having 10.100. Maybe I'll just put one thing, like instead of 100, I'll make like 101, because denoting PC1 is 101, and I'll make this 102, and I'll make this as 103. Okay, I'll change it. And the default gateway is this one, which is the FortiGate interface IP. And also when it comes to DNS, instead of 8.8.8.8, what I'll do, I'll make it as like again 172.16.10.1, because I want all my DNS queries to hit this particular IP. Okay, select OK, and I'm closing it. So the IP configurations at this PC1 is done now. I'll minimize it. Then like PC2, right? So also I'll make this one as uh, PC2, right? 102. And this one I already made as 101. Let me validate it once. 1 minute. I just want to ensure whether I change the IP or not. IP config. It didn't take. That's because this IP is already there. Okay, anyway, I changed it. Means it's not taking because the same IP is available here. As soon as I change it, it will take. I'll minimize it for now, and once I change the IP address here, I'll come back and show you. So PC2 not open yet. Okay. So this is PC2 admin. So for PC2, we are going to configure 102, and adapter option under Ethernet. I'm going to properties under IPv4. I said right. So it has it. This device is also having 101. That's the reason it's not taking on the other device. Now once we save it, it will take. And here I'll make a changes of DNS 10.1. Okay, okay, close it, close it. So if I check the IP config here, it should have taken 102. Yeah, so we have configured 102, and it is uh, now available here. And last time it was showing Apipa. Let me check. Still it is showing Apipa only. I think now let's go back. One 172.16.101. Let me check now. It's still having the same. It's not taking. I'll do one thing, like let me finish this side as well and come. Usually when the same IP is configured in multiple devices, it will not take it. So I'll configure 103 here. Okay. So this is Windows machine. where we have installed XAMPP application. It's going act as an server. All right. Anyway, mm, it's going to act as a server, web server or FTP server whenever it's required. But actually, it is an Windows machine. Okay, we are using this XAMPP application to make it as an Apache server. It's a web server or FTP server. All right. I'll configure 172.16.10.103, right? So 255.255.0, and then gateway is 172.16.10.1. Also, when it comes to DNS, 172.10.1. So maybe I can have the secondary DNS as internet. That's not a problem because we are going to see internal DNS resolution, right? Okay, maybe I'll just try to config. Let me try to ping 172.16.10.102. All right, I'm reachable. And how about 101? It's not reachable because it didn't take it. Uh, let's do one thing. Let's try to delete this interface and we'll add that IP here. 172.16.10.101, right? 10.101. Okay. Let me check if it is all right. See, now it taken the IP. Okay, that's fine. So now internally, like we were able to reach them with their IP address 172.16.10.102. We are getting response. Means basically I'm from this PC trying to reach this one. I'm getting response. Let me try to reach the web server 103. I should get response like this one. It's getting timeout. 172.16.10.103. Maybe 1 minute. Okay, from here I'm able to reach to this one now. Let me try once again. 17172.16.10.103. I'm unable to reach it. Okay, that should not be a problem. Like, let's check it later. Come back here and we'll check it later once we configure the DNS. Okay, so basically now, but at the same time, we were able to reach 102. Okay. All right. So from here we were able to reach this one. I don't know, like from here it's not reaching to the here. Maybe we need to refresh this interface. But at the same time, it's reaching from here to here. Okay. This is due to some issue with the CV. That's fine. Like basically we have one simple network this side. Consider that this is your LAN or internal network. And in your production environment, you want to configure an internal DNS. Okay. And as it's a very small project or a very small environment, you don't want to deploy a special server dedicated server to act as an DNS. So you want to convert this, or you want to enable this DNS feature within the FortiGate itself, so that the firewall will also act as a DNS server for the internal network. Okay, let's see how to do it. All right, so I'll just go here. As said, first go to systems. Under systems, go to feature visibility. Under feature visibility, enable the DNS database. All right. Then come back to network. You'll be seeing this option is enabled, showing this once you enable the DNS database. Select here. First, configure the DNS service interface. Okay. So in this case, before we going there, we need to configure the interface IP. But it's already configured, like this port, right? The port to 2. I already have this same IP configured from the last lab. Like if you remember, it's having 172.16.10.1. Okay, I'm just going with the same. So now we have the IP address as per our topology, that is 172.16.10.1. All right. So now I go to DNS server. So click create new, and I need to define from which interface this DNS queries will come. All right. So the DNS queries will hit the box through the port 2, right? Select to it. And here we need to define the mode. Okay, so whether you want to make it as a recursive, non-recursive, or forward to the system DNS. So in this case, I'll just go with recursive. And then if you want to do a lot of things like with the DNS filters and all, you can make use of it. It's as per your requirement. Okay, and if you want to enable DNS over HTTPS for a secure transaction, you can have it. As it is a lab, I'm just going with a simple example and just selecting OK. That's it. Like I've just mentioned that to firewall through port 2, I may get a DNS queries. Be ready for it. Okay. Now I just informed firewall that maybe on port 2 I'll be getting a DNS queries. Now I need to configure a DNS records, right? Only then when an actual query is coming, it will resolve based on the record and give it. So what I need to do here, this is the place where we need to configure the records under DNS database. So first click create new, and this is the type, whether how you want to make it, either a primary or a secondary, or in which view, shadow view or public view, you can have it as per your record, like as per your need. And zone, you can create any name. DNS, can make it a DNS zone, or you can give any name to it. Okay, that's what it is. And domain name also, you can give any domain name, like maybe I'll put lab dot local, and then the name of the DNS, like let it be with the DNS only, and contact email address. Okay, so if you input username or username of domain name, like a contact email address, you can add it. I'm not interested in it. Then TTL value means basically like how long you want to have it, a day, and you can means you can modify it as per your requirement, and it is set to authoritative. That's fine. So the main thing, like we need to check is the DNS records. By selecting create new, we can add records. So as you know, there are multiple types of records like A record. Name means A record is basically a name to IPv4 address, right? And when a name domain name to IPv6, you'll be going for IPv6. Sorry, when a domain name to IPv6 record mapping, then you'll go for quad A record. That is AAA record. Then C name is like a canonical name, and name server. These are all the common record types that's available in the DNS server. So this is a simple lamp. I'll just go with A record only. So what I'll do, I'll add a record for all these three devices, like this web server, PC1 and PC2, even for firewall. Okay, maybe let's start with the firewall only. So I'll make the host name as firewall, FW. Okay, so as soon as I put FW, it's automatically taking lab.local. So from where it is taking? From the domain name. Okay, so the fully qualified domain name of this device is fw.lab.local. Okay, I need to assign an IP address. So when it comes to IP address, I'm not giving the management IP, because when I said that this is the internal network and all the queries are hitting to this interface only. So they are not aware about my management IP of the firewall, right? So all this interface hits only this IP address. So I'm giving this IP address here, 172.16.10.1. Okay, all right. Status is enabled. Select OK. That's it. We have created one record. Right. See, we have created one record. Like that, we can create records for other three devices, and that is also like a record, because we are going to assign one IPv4 address to those devices. We have PC1, PC2, and web server, right? So let me start with PC1. PC1, that's it. I'm just given a name. So the fully qualified domain name is pc1.lab.local. And what is the IP address of it? It's 172.16.10.101. Okay. So that is the IP, right? I have given that IP address here. Select OK. Okay. Now the second record is added. Now let me create a third record. Again, this is also part of a record. Then this is for PC2, and pc2.local.lab is the, sorry, pc2.lab.local is the domain name. 172.16.10.102. All right, fine. So we have given the PC2's IP address. So a new record will be added. Let me create one more, and let me put as like um, web, okay, or web server. All right. So web server dot lab dot local. This is the name, and IP for it is 172.16.10.103, I believe. Let me check it once. Yes, 103. Select OK. So now all the records would get added here. Okay. If you see, we have totally 4 records created. Just select OK and it would get saved. So basically we have first defined through which port we'll be getting a DNS query, and then we have created a database in this name, and within this database we have 4 entries, all right, or 4 records. Fine. So now the configuration at FortiGate firewall is done. So in addition to firewall, means act as a firewall. It also act as a DNS server. Means internal DNS server. It's not an external in the internet. It act as an internal DNS server for this internal network. All right. So let's check how does it work. Okay. What I'll do before that, I'll just start capturing port 2. Okay, this port. Open Wireshark, minimize it. So let me filter only DNS packets because we are interested to see only DNS for now, right? So what we'll do, let's try to look up from this any of these machines, so that if we try to look up that, so what happened if like say for example, if I put ns lookup from here, okay, so what happened, when you put ns lookup, obviously it need to perform the DNS query, right? So the query would be hitting to this interface. It won't go like if you check the IP addresses, you won't see that pointing towards 8.8.8. Instead of that, you will be seeing the queries are pointed to this interface. Means basically it's asking firewall for the query, and firewall will respond on it based on the records that we have created here. I'll show you. So PC1, okay, what let's do, we can I'll just take it this way, and let's do ns lookup, and what's the name of firewall we have given? FW, right? FW dot lab dot local. Am I right? So let me do an lookup to it. See, immediately I'm getting an answer that I have initiated ns lookup for FW dot, I think it's very small. Let me try to, okay, zoom it. All right, I think it's somewhat visible now, right? Okay, so now I initiated a ns lookup, like ns lookup with the name of a firewall, right? And I have get an answer like the address for it is 172.16.10.1, which is nothing but the interface IP of this guy, right? This interface. All right. So now I'll show you in the capture. So this is the capture we have taken, right? If you look, this one, this is the very first capture. And if you check the source, right, it initiated from 172.16.10.101. Who is 10.101? This PC, okay? This PC is the 10.101, and it initiated to the destination 172.16.10.1. So 10.1 is FortiGate's this interface. And this is the packet. And let me check here. Okay, this is the domain name query, right? Basically, it's asking a query. And if you look at the query, what it is asking. So it is asking the query means basically it's asking the type here, right? Like it's asking for the IPv4 address for the domain name fw.lab.local. Okay, so this is the query that is sent. So now, like we should be seeing one response from firewall, that's 172.16.10.1. Okay, so this is the response to it. And if you see here, like again in the domain name response, so earlier it was saying like query, right? It was mentioned as like query, but this time it's a response packet, and that's the reason you're seeing is like response. Okay, just scroll down a little, and this is the query that was asked, right, for fw.lab.local. And if you scroll down a little, you'll be seeing something like answer. Okay, this is what the response that the FortiGate firewall sends to the client. See, it has given the information, like you asked for this particular domain, and it is a class A, and IP address for that means the IPv4 address that is associated for this particular host name is this one, 172.16.10.1. Okay, so this is the address it's telling. Okay, so basically now the DNS query is sent to the firewall, and firewall process this DNS query and send the DNS response. Maybe I'll initiate for others as well. Like, hmm, maybe what I'll do, I'll just go to my PC one again. I will again look up uh, Control L and look up NS. Sorry, again I'll look up with NS lookup space. This time let me ask PC1 means let me ask the IP address of the same machine only. Okay, this device is what? PC1 dot lab dot local. See, it has given the IP information of this device. So 172.16.10.101. Okay, if you go back again here, so last time we have selected this packet, right? So this is the packet where it sent the query message, and in the query, if you look here, if you look the query, it would have asked like PC1 lab local, and as a response here you have received a response, and from where you have received, from firewall that has an IP 10.1 towards this PC, and it's telling that IP address for this particular local host, like the domain name is this one. So it's given the right IP. How it give? Because we have created the record in the FortiGate firewall. As same, you can also, I just selected the last packet. You can also do it for PC2. See, it given the PC2 IP. It's telling that 102. All right. So if I go back here, see here it's asking like in this packet 101, nothing but this PC. It is asking the IP address for this particular host, like pc2.lab.local. All right. And in this packet, like FortiGate firewall responds here to this client saying that answer is 172.16.10.102. So it has given the response. Same like if you try to do it for the web server also, it would give web server. So this is the name of this thing, right? Right. Okay. I'm unable to resize it. I think that's fine. Anyway, we have given the name, right? Oh, it went. Okay. I'll hit enter here. See, I have given ns lookup web server dot sorry, lab dot local, and it given the IP address of the web server, that is 172.16.10.103. Okay. If you see here, it's 103, right? And let's see. So this is the place where it is asking. I think this one. So basically the request. All right. So here, so 101. Okay. So this is what it's querying. It's asking for this particular domain name, and server means firewall have responded saying that for this particular name, this is the IP. Okay. Or here, because both are same. So this is how DNS, you can configure FortiGate firewall as a internal DNS server also. Okay, means you can also try to, like, not only in a lookup, it means you can also try to ping with the name pc2 dot lab dot local. See, so instead of pinging with the IP address, I try to initiate a ping with the name. I'm getting a response, right? I'm trying to from PC1, I'm trying to initiate connection to PC2. I'm getting a response to it, right? Fine. So that's how you can configure, DNS, means you can make FortiGate firewall to act as an internal DNS in addition to the firewall functions.